Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now, Monday, October 31st. It is a scary, ghastly, ghoulish Monday because it's Halloween. Happy Halloween, if that means a thing to you. It doesn't to me, but nevertheless, Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith with you. A scary Alex B. Smith joining us today on the Ice Guys show, clearly putting more effort into this Halloween thing than yours truly did. Alex, what's up?
Not much, man. Yeah, I did not get beat up. This is all a costume. This is an old ruined jersey I had years ago that I've always just used. This has been my go-to. If I ever get invited to a Halloween party last minute, this is pretty much what I do. So it wasn't much effort at all. But it's kind of been an interesting, couple of games we saw last night and short card tonight. Actually, it's kind of weird how the schedule pans out now. We got this whole short Monday, long Tuesday tomorrow, short Wednesday, short Friday. So here we are going that up and down kind of seesaw thing. It's nice for work purposes. Gives us some time to kind of breathe a little bit, but it's kind of a bit off timing, especially when you're trying to figure out trends now as we're about to head into November, the first full month of the hockey season.
Yeah, no question. Now, brief look back on yesterday. This is going to be a short show, 20, 25 minutes or so. But just I want to talk about a couple of the results we saw yesterday in the NHL. Things keep getting worse for Columbus. I mean, that was embarrassing yesterday for them against New Jersey. But the Devils continue to play very good hockey. And when they get goaltending, they're pretty good. If you actually look at advanced numbers, the New Jersey Devils are among the best teams in the NHL defensively. I'm talking about chances and expected goals against. Numbers like that, New Jersey is actually near the top in the NHL. They have been pretty good defensively. They just weren't getting saves from, my favorite goalie in the world, Mackenzie Blackwood earlier in the season. But Vitek Vanacek has given them a spark, no question. And the Devils are playing some really good hockey, and Columbus is not. That is clear as day. Another dismal performance from the Blue Jackets yesterday in a blowout loss against New Jersey. We saw the Rangers survive Arizona 3-2. If you were betting that game, you were taken aback by the fact that Igor Shesterkin started for a second straight game. It looked like for sure Jarl Halak was going to be the goalie, but it was Igor Shesterkin. And sure enough, I actually pounced very late when I heard that news on Rangers in regulation. I'm glad I did. They end up getting the job done 3-2 against Arizona. Vegas in a great goaltending duel, especially Connor Hellebuck was just heroic in that game. He's the reason the Jets got a point. But Vegas wins with Jack Eichel beauty in overtime 2-1. Great job by Alex to cash with the draw at plus 360 in that game. It gets to overtime, a nice plus price with that. We saw the Minnesota Wild pull out a 4-3 shootout win against Chicago last night. That's 2 games in a row. Disappointing where you cough up a lead in the third period if you're Chicago. It happened to Buffalo on Saturday, and it happened against Minnesota on Sunday as well. Disappointing there. What wasn't disappointing is seeing, and Alex mentioned this on Twitter, it was great to see it actually. I think he's now going to get a Max Domi jersey. He's going to be the president of the Max Domi fan club, protecting his teammate, Sir Patrick Kane, who got just clobbered into the boards from behind by Tyson Jost. Patrick Kane made it sound like, hey, it wasn't as bad as it looked initially when he talked to Domi but still the fat Domi ran in there, dropped the gloves, pummeled Jost, stuck up for Kane. It's a great team bonding thing. It's great to see that happen. So wonderful job. I like Max Domi for doing that. And Max Domi's not a fighter like his old man, and he certainly got more skill in his pinky finger than Ty Domi has in his entire body. But nevertheless, the fact he got some of those, protect your teammates, still have some degree of toughness, and he does. He's not scared to drop the gloves, Max Domi. Obviously doesn't do it half as much as his old man and his dad did, Ty, but he's still willing to do it when the situation requires it. And he did it last night against Tyson Jost. So it was nice to see that. And then, of course, the Leafs leafed again. I mean, every game, it's like with the Leafs play, we talk about them leafing again. 3-1 lead against the Anaheim fucking Ducks, who have one win on the year, and they can't hold the lead. They lose 3-3, they tie at 3-3 Anaheim. They win in overtime. Mitch Marner gets benched by Keefe. He has a little tantrum in the dressing room area, comes back. And then Keefe, and this I don't get. Keefe benched Marner for horrendous turnovers with the puck. Horrendous. You can't make them. Terrible job by him giving the puck away when he did. That led to 2 of the Anaheim goals. He deserved to be benched. You can't do that. You got to be more responsible than that. Well, if you bench the guy, make it a benching where he's out for the rest of the game. What is he doing back on the ice a couple minutes later? That's insane to me that happened. It means the inmates are running the asylum. That's what it tells me. And it's a bad look for Sheldon, who's now, firmly on the hot seat now. I could even the other day, prior to last night, or even the LA game, even after the San Jose game, I probably would have said, you know what? We're not at the point where Sheldon Keefe's on the hot seat, ready to get zonked here as the head coach of the Leafs. But it's piping up now to the point where, and I said this on Twitter, we don't know if Barry Trotz wants the job. We don't even know if he wants to come back to coaching this year, because he said he wanted to take the whole year off. But we're in a situation where if the Leafs were to approach him with the job, with maybe something involving management as well, not only being the head coach, but be involved in the personnel decisions, in the management role in some form, maybe be GM and head coach, because Barry's talked about wanting to be involved in the management group as well with whatever next job he takes in the NHL. Toronto would be maybe looking to offer it, in my opinion. And the way I see this unfolding is I could see now Brendan Shanahan going to Kyle and say, hey, Kyle, Sheldon's your guy, but we got to make a change. And Kyle putting up the stop sign, because Sheldon Keefe's been his buddy and his guy for 10 years. Remember, Dubas hired Keefe as his head coach with Sault Ste. Marie. That was like 10 years ago. Then he brought him into the Marlies. Then he hired him after they fired Babcock to take over the Leafs. So if it gets to the point where Shanahan's asking Dubas to get rid of Keefe, we need to shake things up. Dubas might put up the stop sign, and if that happens, Shanahan could actually knock them both out, Dubas and Keefe, bring in Trotz, and this is just the pit of my gut, the feeling I had after that game last night, that it could happen in this fashion. It may not. Maybe they're not ready to jump to conclusions. Maybe everyone's taking a deep breath, because they're off till Wednesday when they play it against Philadelphia at home. After this debacle of a road trip, everybody takes a deep breath. They cool off. They have a few days to reflect. That could happen, and maybe we see no change this week. But in the pit of my stomach, I'm looking at that Leaf team last night, and I'm thinking to myself, something's got to happen at this point. Coaching change, GM change, a trade of some kind, bringing in a player, shipping someone out, something to shake the fuck up things right now with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And obviously, as the week goes on, we'll see if anything happens. Alex, thoughts on the Sunday slate?
Yeah, well, we'll start with that Hawks Wild game, and that it was an interesting battle. It was a good battle. You saw the Wild get the 4-3 win. But what was interesting is that, one, the 6 o'clock Sunday starts, they have not gotten any better. If anything, they've gotten worse. The game was tied 2-2 with about 9.5 minutes left in the third. You could hear a pin drop. All you could hear was literally skates and sticks on the ice. You could hardly tell it was anybody in the crowd. And all of a sudden, the Hawks get a goal, and Tennessee scores. There's a little bit of noise, and then as soon as Matt Boldy comes right back down and ties the game up, it's quiet all over again. It just really, really sucks to see that. This team is playing much better than expected against a rival in a close game late in the contest deal, and the fans just no-showed it. But at least the team didn't. They gave a good effort. Like I said, Max Domi stepping up for Patrick Kane, and like I said, that hit looked worse than it really was, which is great. Because that could have been really ugly, getting hit from behind and falling face first like that. We saw Kane get a broken collarbone years ago from a hit just like that. So Domi rushing in, and late in the game too. I mean, he had to make that decision, but like I said, stick up for your teammate, one of your stars. Love seeing stuff like that for sure. Arizona and New York, that was a disappointing first period. Nothing happened there. And now we're getting to see how that crowd changes when a top-tier team, a premier team, comes into Mullet Arena. It was all blue shirts all night. You could hear the Let's Go Rangers chants if you watched either broadcast throughout the evening. And that's going to be what's going to happen for a lot of these teams, the Chicagos, the Bostons, Vegas, LA. They're going to travel well in packs and fill up that place and take away the home ice advantage. So, like I said, my goalie rankings and my goalie chart and power rankings, I have home ice rankings as well. Both Arizona and Chicago get zeros, and last night was a prime example of that for sure. And Vegas, Winnipeg, finally hit a draw. It seemed like it's been a while since I cashed one of those plus 360. That was really nice to hit. And Connor Hellebuyck, I mean, he stood on his head. He deserved better. He deserved to win in that game the way that he played. It's just unfortunate that offense, it's hit and miss. It's a Jekyll and Hyde offense, and we talked about that. That's why I don't like betting on Winnipeg that often. And when I usually do bet on games involving Winnipeg, it's often the draw. The last 3 times I've had a Winnipeg ticket in some fashion, it was a draw here. It was a draw against Dallas, and I think it was another draw early in the year. So, they're just a hard team to read offensively.
Absolutely. Definitely going to be interesting to see how it plays out from here. But it was for a Sunday card. NFL overshadows the NHL on Sunday, but it's a fascinating Sunday in the NHL, which leads us to a Monday that is a little bit lighter. Just 3 games. We will start with Washington and Carolina. And yes, JT Tickner, by the way, in the chat here is mentioning the draw, shouting out Alex. It was a great call. I mean, and obviously a great price, plus 360 with that Winnipeg Vegas game. No doubt. That'll definitely build a bankroll if you cash a few of those draw bets at those kind of prices. Washington, Carolina. We got Carolina minus 190, home favorite, 6 the total in this one. I have a very small bet just because of the value, the number, the price, even with the injuries. Capitals team total over 2.5. There are some things that worry me about Carolina. They're giving up way more chances, way more quality than they have. In fact, there's some stat sites out there, Natural Stat Trick, Money Puck. We talk about all these sites that have the advanced numbers. They're actually bottom 5 in the league right now, Carolina. Danger chances and expected goals against. That's Carolina. You would not expect that. They have had some issues defensively, more so this year than they've had in recent seasons. And yeah, there's definitely some key injuries for Washington. Make no mistake about it. With what we've seen from them over the weekend with TJ Oshie, obviously getting injured in that game against Dallas. John Carlson, lower body injury for both of them, actually dealing with lower body injuries. They will be out for this game for the Washington Capitals. That being said, Calvin DeHaan has missed the last 3 games for the Hurricanes on the blue line. He's always been one of those stay-at-home shutdown type of defensemen. And look at this Carolina team. I mean, they've given up 3 goals to Calgary, 6 to Edmonton, 6 to the Islanders, 3 to Philadelphia. All we need is 3 from Washington here with this team total. Now, it's going to be obviously a situation where the Capitals are going to have to, score a little bit more by committee when you're missing TJ Oshie. And we've talked about the long-term record with the Washington Capitals without TJ Oshie. It's not pretty. But nevertheless, you've got Ovechkin, Strome, and Sheary on your top line. You got Marcus Johansson, Kuznetsov. Moving up, by the way, Connor McMichael to the second line. So right away, for a guy that obviously has not been held without a point this year, but here he is coming into the lineup. He's only played 1 game this year against Ottawa. He's now going to get an opportunity, it looks like, on the second line for the Washington Capitals tonight. So not only do I like a small over the 2.5 team total for Washington, but I think there's value on him to find the back of the net tonight for the Capitals. It's certainly a great price. It's someone that's going to be playing in a top 6 role for the Washington Capitals. And with Oshie out, a key member of your offense, this would be a good time for a guy like that to step up and find the back of the net. So Connor McMichael, definitely, if you look at some books, have him as high as plus 470 to score a goal tonight. Someone on the second line for the Washington Capitals. It is that classic Ian Cameron bargain bin goal scorer prop situation that I love to try to take advantage of. And that's what I'm going to look at here with Washington in this game tonight. So that's where I'm at. Washington team total over 2.5. And we're going to look at McMichael to light the lamp at a juicy plus 400 or better price, playing on a second line tonight with Kuznetsov and Johansson for the Capitals. What do you think here, Alex? Washington, Carolina.
Yeah, this game's a pass for me, and even if this was a big card, I wouldn't even look at anything. But like I said, Washington team total, that is a bit interesting. It's going to be a huge next man up kind of movement. Like I said, with Oshie banged up, I mean, just all the injuries they've had so far, and this team just doesn't seem that great. But like I said, Carolina's defense struggling a little bit, and I know some people in the chat were talking about Carolina regulation. I can't endorse that either. There's nothing here I like. Even a draw here doesn't really interest me too much. So even with a short card, not much to pick at here on the pass.
Yeah, and if you want to get crazier with the goal props for Washington, Alexei Protas has scored in 2 of the last 3 games, and you're going to get a good price there too. And Nick Dowd on the fourth line is weird. He goes through these moments where Nick Dowd all of a sudden scores a couple in a row, and he's plus 600. You've got to score a goal, and Alexei Protas, the big Russian, here for the Capitals. He's in that same range, plus 500, even plus 600 in some spots. So again, you don't have to put a ton of money on these, just a few bucks and it'll pay off handsomely. If any of these guys are able to find the back of the net for Washington tonight in this game. Of course, for Carolina, it's Natchez. Natchez is someone that you don't even have to bring him up anymore. You just say, if you take his props, you're probably going to have a positive return because he's been magnificent. 11 points in 8 games, I believe, is where he's at. Just an outstanding start to the year for Marty Natchez for Carolina. Detroit Buffalo, we've got the Sabres minus 150, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. We'll see how it plays out with these two. We've got Nedeljkovic confirmed in net tonight for the Detroit Red Wings. Not totally shocking with the fact that, you don't want to wear Ville Husso right into the ice or anything like that. But Nedeljkovic in net. Eric Comrie will be the starter for the Buffalo Sabres. I should point out Kemper and Freddie Anderson in the Washington-Carolina game. This one, though, look, Buffalo, I said bad spot against Seattle, end of the road trip. It played out that way. Bad spot against Montreal. First home game after, less than 48 hours after finishing that road trip. Terrible scheduling spot. And they lost to Montreal. But I said, let's not panic. 2 bad spots. Buffalo lost. They're still playing pretty good hockey. Let's see how they do against Chicago Saturday night. And look, it wasn't looking good in that game, but they rescued it. They tied it in the third, and then they won it on a power play goal from Victor Olofsson in overtime. 2 more goals from Tage Thompson. That's why they're paying him the big bucks now with the Buffalo Sabres. He continues to get the job done, be excellent for them. No question about that. Here's another lineup change here for the Sabres. In fact, I think we have a couple here that are worth mentioning here from a player prop standpoint. Again, these great situations that don't get accounted for in the pricing of the goal scorer prop market. Kyle Okposo on the second line tonight, it looks, or top line rather, with Tage Thompson and Jeff Skinner for the Buffalo Sabres tonight. So that's significant that Okposo is getting this kind of bump up the lineup. Looks like that's going to happen. Quinn, Middlestat, and Olofsson. Looks like that's going to stay pat as the second line. Some sites have Peterka on the second line. Some sites have him on the third line. But I still like Peterka. But the big one for me from a prop standpoint to really zone in on is Kyle Okposo. Him playing on the top line tonight, it looks like, based on morning skate combinations. And you can get him as high as plus 380 to score a goal tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. Plus 380, a top line player. These are the kind of dream situations you don't get every day or with every game in the NHL. But you get that here in this game for the Buffalo Sabres tonight, playing with obviously 2 very good players. Now, I know he doesn't have a goal yet. He only has 4 assists. Okposo, you're playing with Skinner and Thompson. It's as good a time as any for him to finally dent the twine and get that first goal of the season, especially against a Detroit team that with Nedeljkovic in net don't necessarily like that group collectively as much defensively with Nedeljkovic because of, still up and down, inconsistent play from him. He's got a 3.96 goals against average and an 890 save percentage this year. He has given up 10 goals in his last 2 starts against Chicago and New Jersey. So it's been a little bit of a rough go for Nedeljkovic here coming into this game tonight facing the Sabres. I also have a small play over the total in this one. I know Cheshire Cat's saying it feels like a low-scoring game, but I'm telling you what, with Buffalo scoring goals right now the way they are, other than the Seattle game where they just hit a wall physically. I mean, they had nothing in the tank. And that game, they only scored 1, but scored 5 against Vancouver, 6 against Calgary, 4 against Edmonton, 3 against Florida, 4 against Ottawa in their home opener, 4 against Chicago over the weekend. Detroit with Nedeljkovic in net. Look at these last 2 games that he's been in net. The final scores were 6-2, 4-3. And in fact, in all 3, in his 2 starts this year, both of them have gone over the total, 7 goals or more. So I actually think this game could end up going over the total tonight. Comrie's the X factor, though. Comrie being on his game like he was against Edmonton in particular, and the Calgary game he played well. If we get that Comrie, then it could stay under. But I'm going to go with the over here, 6.5. Sidewise, it's tricky because I like the value here with Detroit, but I don't want to go take them with Nedeljkovic, and I don't want to fade Buffalo either right now on this homestand, especially after getting back on track. What do you think here, Alex? Red Wing Sabres.
Yeah, sidewise, I want nothing to do with this. From a totals point, I like the first period over, but I want to get a better price in game. Right now, laying 160, 165, 1.5. Like you said, Buffalo, the X factor is in that with Comrie. Nedeljkovic hasn't been that good, and we kind of got lucky. Detroit, and Minnesota the other day, 2-1. All 3 goals came in the first period, so cashed it over 2, but didn't get anything else after that. I think we're going to see some goals back and forth. I like a couple of shot on goal props for this game tonight. Not necessarily goal scorers, but a couple of picks that I made, some smaller unit plays. Lucas Raymond over 2.5 shots at plus 120. He had 7 shots in his last game, and now moving up on that line, and he moved up a bit when Kubalik got hurt. David Perron over 2.5 shots on goal. I found that around even money. You should be able to find it anywhere. I wouldn't lay any more than $1.05. You should be able to find at least plus value with that as well. I think those are 2 guys who will be able to kind of step up here. And at least if not get a goal, they definitely should be able to get some shots off for sure on this Buffalo defense that's been giving up quite a few shots. So I'd also take a look, just to lean toward the draw here as well. We've seen 4 of the last 6 meetings go into OT, and one of those other 2 that didn't was a 1-goal game. So we could see kind of a back and forth battle, 3-3 going into overtime. That would shock me one bit, but I definitely like Raymond and Perron over shots on goal. You get both of those at plus prices.
Yeah, great call by our guy from the UK in our chat, Dan Lowe or Lau. I think it's Lowe, but I'll go with that. But Adam Ernie is exact same situation as Okposo for Buffalo, moving up to the top line. I'm looking at multiple sites have him top line going into the game tonight, playing with Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond, and plus 600 at BetMGM, I should say. Plus 600, Adam Ernie for the Detroit Red Wings to score a goal tonight on that top line. That is, wow. You got to bet it, or at least I do. Whenever I see this situation, you have to take advantage of these. Now, shop around. Some books have plus 350 for Adam Ernie. Some have as high as plus 600. So there is a wide discrepancy.
Yeah, definitely need to shop
in
around.
Terms of his goal scorer prop price. Some have as low as plus 370, plus 375, and you can get plus 390 at PointsBet, 420 at CoolBet, and again 600 is the big one. BetMGM, my goodness, has it at plus 600.
And that's the thing too. As player props get bigger and more expansive, and more books are offering these different options, it's imperative to have different outs with this, because this is actually going to be a more volatile market. It already is now, based on what you just said. But with those kind of numbers, then what we're seeing with sides and totals, you should have a separate book, different books for different things, even within the same sport. Like I said, I always say BetMGM right now. It's the best book for first period totals, for in-game wagering. Bet Online's another good one. But then you have some other books like DraftKings that'll have quality sides up early. I know Ian used Bet365 if that's available in your area for a lot of player prop options. There's a lot of things you want to mix and match with, but it's important now, if you are getting into the player prop market, definitely you need to have at least a minimum of 3 different books to go from, because the prices can vary, like you said, from literally we're talking about $3 to $6.
Very good. Excellent. Again, this is a great game for these. We've got 2 guys that are moving up to a top line for their respective teams. Kyle Okposo for Buffalo, Adam Ernie for Detroit. They're not being priced like it. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to score. You still got to hope they find the back of the net, cash in on one of their scoring chances. But you put yourself in a position where you find these situations long term, you're going to find opportunity. And we're going to see if that is indeed the case here. I like that. Great comment from Melissa. Melissa, we're getting you on the show soon. So let me know when you're able to join us, but we will get you on the show as a guest in the very near future. But she says Alex got in a fight with Aaron Dell.
That's it. Yeah, I threw him into a trash can where he goes.
Yeah, exactly. One of our favorite goalies. Yeah, favorite goalies to rip on. Yeah, that is. All right, final game. LA Kings, St. Louis Blues. St. Louis minus 125, home favorite, 6 the total. I like the over here, and I like the Blues. I'm going to take a chance with the Blues here. I mean, you got to think something was said, when you suffer a loss like you did against Montreal. I know they're not playing very good hockey right now. 1-2 at home, 3-4 overall. And the Kings, after a little bit of a rough patch, they've won 2 of their last 3 games entering this one. But, I'm sure the St. Louis Blues are going to try to snap this slump. Craig Berube obviously wasn't very happy The Blues, apparently, they're talking the right things, urgency, cleaning up the mess. Unacceptable to play like this. Tarasenko said we have time to figure it out before the next game. It's been a rough few games for us. Obviously, losing sucks. I've seen worse. We're confident in ourselves. The main thing is we should play better at home and away games. We're about to fix it. That's it. So pretty defiant of Vladimir Tarasenko, talking about the abomination of giving up 7 goals to the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night in a 7-4 loss. Now, granted, Montreal is going to be able to do this, to certain teams this year. No question about that. They're a hard-working team, good young team. You turn the puck over. Their transition game and the rush chance game that they can unleash is lethal at times. But still, I mean, it's all about puck management. And there were way too many haphazard plays, and wouldn't the Blues, try to fix that tonight here in this game. We'll have to wait and see. Part of me wonders if they will, though. That's why I'm on the over. It feels like it's an under spot because they're going to probably try to shore up things defensively. Binnington was obviously not great, but I thought his defense hung him out to dry a lot in that game against Montreal. As far as LA goes, they're starting another road trip here through St. Louis, Dallas, and Chicago. Look, they've played some solid hockey overall, but I think for St. Louis, given the enormity of the focus for them going into this game, I think they have a chance to win it. And let's not forget the 2 meetings that they had last year in St. Louis. They won collectively 10-3. It was actually a back-to-back set, the Blues hosting the Kings last year in October. And it was 7-3 St. Louis in one game and 3-0 in the other. It ended up being lopsided in favor of the Blues. I think I've got some issues with the Blues moving forward with the way they're a good offensive team, but we saw last year their defense declined, and maybe this is more of the same this year. But I think for one night, you're going to see the best of the St. Louis Blues in a spot like this after a dreadful, one of the worst home losses they've had in a while, that they want to clean things up tonight in this game. So I'm going to take St. Louis here, especially now that the price has come down to -120 in some spots with St. Louis. And I'm also going to have a smaller bet on the over as well. What do you think, Alex? Kings Blues?
Yeah, I just went with the over 6 at even money. Like I said, somebody in the chat said 5.5 in game. That's probably worth looking at too. If you can't get plus money, I wouldn't lay 110 or 115, which I was seeing at one point. I'd shop around for that. If you can't get plus money with this one, then wait in game, get 5.5, and you should be able to grab that with a decent price. Or that, like I said, 5.5. Me personally, I know, Ian, you like to wait live for a plus price on a total usually. I don't mind laying 120 with 5.5 if I'm offered 6 at -120 pregame. So 120 would be my buy-on spot for over 5.5, but I am on over 6 already. That's the first play I made this morning. Sidewise, I would lean St. Louis. Like I said, I think they would be geared up for this game. LA and St. Louis always play each other really tight. Whether it's a lot of scoring, because there's a bunch of drilling going on, whether there's a ton of scoring or not much scoring, they always seem to play each other close and kind of mimic their styles pretty well. LA would like to be a little bit more up-tempo and get the offense rolling. I think, like I said, St. Louis I think they're just kind of going to go with the flow, basically. Like, play what's in front of you. And like I said, just find a way to win. If LA is going to try to grind things down, they're going to grind down with them. But if St. Louis, can match that tempo, which I think they do, then they're up. They're going to be game for anything tonight. That's what you want to see from a team that's going through a losing streak. The resiliency. Sometimes you don't always have to just stick to your game plan through and through. Just take what the opponent gives you, counter punch, and go from there. And I think they'll be able to do that at home. So over 6 or live over 5.5, I endorse both of those.
All right, liking the over here, and maybe a live over potentially as well, if indeed you get a better number during the game. In terms of player props, I think this is a O'Reilly Auto Parts night for the Blues, plus 230. It's not one of the better prices, but usually he is one of those guys that he shows up when his team is looking to, right or wrong, and that was basically what was Saturday night was. It was a wrong for St. Louis the way they played so horrendously away from the puck. It's a night where you would think Ryan O'Reilly does step up. And for the Kings, Gabe Vilardi, he's however many times, I'm sick of mentioning him, but it's got to be said. I mean, he's scoring every game right now for the Kings. He's plus 350 at Bet365 still. And he's on the top line now. And he keeps scoring goals for the LA Kings. He's plus 350 to score tonight. And he's on the top line for the LA Kings once again in this game. Hot as a pistol. Playing with great players, of course, on that top line for LA. and yet you're still getting these great prices with Gabe Vilardi, game in and game out for the LA Kings, with Kopitar and Kempe tonight still on that second line. And if you want to take a small flyer on someone from LA, keep an eye. I don't know if they'll have him posted yet because, he's just been called up from the AHL. But when he was with the big club last year for the Kings, he scored and chipped in goals. Rasmus Kampari for them. He's someone that's actually going to, I think, be on the third line, it looks like, to start with Grundstrom and Fiala for the LA Kings. But he's a guy that when he got that opportunity with the Kings last year, 7 goals, 4 assists, 11 points in just 10 games last year with the LA Kings. He only played 10 games with them. He scored 7 goals, 4 assists, 11 points. Rasmus Kampari for the LA Kings here. Plus, oh my goodness, I'm about to faint looking at this price that I see at Caesars. Plus 450 in some spots. Caesars has it at plus 700. Plus 700. He's on the third line. It's not like he's on a top 6 role, but I'll take a shot at plus 700 for a guy that's got 7 goals in 10 games with the LA Kings last year when he was with this team. Got to take it at that price. So it's a good night for props, actually. For a 3-game card, the bargain bin is humming, in my opinion, for this Monday night card from a goal scorer prop standpoint. Hopefully some of these players can cash in for us. All right, great stuff. That's the Monday card. Great. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. And a reminder, patreon.com/iceguys, $10 a month. Make sure you're checking out that site. Tons of bonus exclusive content for subscribers there. Videos, charts, totals charts, daily card, and much, much more. Patreon.com/iceguys. All right. Best bets now to wrap up the show. This Halloween Monday edition of the Ice Guys. Alex, what do you like here for best bet?
Yeah, let's try to get this quick because they're making way more noise now. But Kings Blues over 6. They said grab it at that price if you can get a plus number. Otherwise, wait for the end game at 5.5. I think this is going to be a good back and forth battle. Like I said, the Blues definitely need to get back on the right track. And I think LA is playing their style of hockey now. Like they winning 2 of the last 3. I think they'll have some good offensive punch. So should be a fun game to watch. Go LA St. Louis over 6 at even money, or in game 5.5 at a better price.
It is Halloween, but that is not the sound of Alex being attacked by a hammer
right
in the background, or a chainsaw or a drill or whatever that was we just heard. Liking the over there, over 6 Kings Blues for his best bet for this Monday card. My best bet is going to be from that same game, but it's going to be the St. Louis Blues, the side, minus 120 against LA, an embarrassing home loss against Montreal. I think you get the Blues giving it their best tonight. And we know their best game is still very capable. And I think tonight you see it. They beat LA twice at home last year, and I think they will do the same tonight. St. Louis Blues, minus 120, my best bet for this Monday card. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Short edition of the show today. We will be back, of course, tomorrow for a loaded Tuesday NHL card, breaking it all down for you right here on the Ice Guys. And a reminder, as always, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Tuesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.